I do want to welcome you to the Africa Tram. It is a beautiful day outside today. Look at these gorgeous flowers in bloom. This is one of the most spectacular bloom seasons I've seen in a long time, thanks to all this glorious rain we've been getting. So get your cameras ready. Now keep in mind this is a rolling safari, so while I'm moving, please stay seated. But if I am able to come to a complete stop, whenever I am at a stop, you are welcome to stand up and enjoy the view. Just remember that if you do choose to stand up, please hang on to your belongings like your hats and your sunglasses, because if you drop anything overboard, I'm not going to be able to get permission to stop and pick up your stuff. And avoid sitting or leaning on the doors next to you, because as you've probably already noticed, those doors are latched, but they're not locked. But if anyone is having a medical emergency, if you're in the trailer right behind me, just holler or knock on the glass. And if you're in the back two trailers and somebody's having trouble, press and hold the yellow emergency strips that you'll see up on the ceiling. Also on the ceiling, you're going to see illustrations to help you identify the wildlife we're going to see. We're going to see all kinds of things. Like right now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the tram because we got all kinds of cool stuff going on around us. Probably the most spectacular thing, in addition to the herd of kind of rich brown, almost purple-looking fur with the big pointy horns, is our fringe-eared oryx, and trotting down the hill, our tiny tan gazelle. You can also see a mom and baby pair of southern white rhinos. Now, when a rhino gives birth, she only has one calf at a time. She takes a long time to cook that calf. A rhino is going to be pregnant for almost a year and a half. 9 months was plenty for me, so hats off to you, sister. Then she's going to spend between 2 and 4 years with her calf. Rhinos have a long lifetime, over 40 years potentially, so they can take the time to look after their little ones. Now you can compare that with the cheetahs on the right-hand side. Look at the South African cheetahs coming up on the right. These are youngsters. They're a little over a year old. They're all siblings. 6 of them in one litter. 2 is good for me. I don't need 6. And then a mama cheetah is going to get pregnant fairly soon after she gives birth, because a cheetah has a much shorter lifespan, anywhere between 6 and 8 years. So what the mom wants to do is pretty much flood the market with cubs. The more cubs she has, the more likely that at least one of them will survive and have babies of its own. And unlike the rhinos, if a mama cheetah only gives birth to one cub, a singleton, well, cheetahs are known to abandon a single cub so that they can try and get pregnant again and have more, kind of hedge their bets. Now right now, look at the little baby cheetah, little baby rhino on the left. She is about a year and a half, and notice she stays right next to her mom. There are keepers driving through the habitat. Whenever the animals see us humans, they're always kind of watching us. And what a baby rhino does is she follows her mom, because mom is going to take good care of her. And the closer she sticks to her mama, the more of a chance she has of surviving. Animals have all kinds of ways of looking after their babies. Flamingos, like the greater flamingos down on the right, when it comes time for them to have little ones, they do so as a team. As a matter of fact, those greater flamingos used to have access to the entire pond, but as it turns out, they didn't like it so much. The reason why we know they didn't like it is because they stopped nesting for years. So finally, the keepers installed that fencing, which increased their population density. They're just like my dog. I could live in a 10,000 square foot castle, and my dog is still going to be right at my feet. She needs that population density. The flamingos are the same way, because each mated pair of flamingos only lays one chalky white egg per breeding cycle. So it's only one shot for their little one to grow up and have a baby of its own. And the only way they're going to be comfortable enough to nest is if they're doing it with all their friends, so they can flood the market with eggs. If they spread out too much, there aren't enough mated pairs and they won't undertake the effort. So as soon as the keepers installed that fencing, it was like the flamingos woke up one day and were like, well, look at that, suddenly there are a whole bunch of us. And in 2016, we had over 3 dozen chicks hatch. We're hoping for similar success this year. And if you want to keep up with all the births and all the happenings here at the safari park, here's something you can do right here, right now. Take out your phone, go to your Facebook app, look up San Diego Zoo Safari Park, our Facebook page, and like it. Just click like. That way you can keep up with everything going on here. New birds, new additions, new exhibits. And the photos we post are usually pretty spectacular. This might be a nice photo you can get right now of a flock of pelicans on the middle of the island across from us. We don't often get to see them right smack dab in the middle of the island like they are doing right now. These are great white pelicans, and they've been just sort of circling around the pond. But now they're kind of congregating in the center of this island, and that is good news. That might mean that it's time to start nesting. Because remember, what we're going to see on our journey is that every animal knows exactly how to behave in order to survive. And that includes looking out for their little ones. And pelicans will nest as a team in the same area. That means all of the mated pairs can work together to look after the eggs as well as the babies. And pelicans are ground nesting birds. So if you build your nest on the ground, you want to make sure you can build your nest in a place where a big, clumsy antelope isn't going to squash your eggs. By understanding this ground nesting behavior, we've been able to provide the pelicans with their own island to help keep them feeling secure in their surroundings. That's why it's so great to understand animal behavior. We can give them what they need. If you look up on the right-hand side, beyond the palm trees and the pine trees, towards the top of the hill, you'll see a herd of zebras called grevy zebras. Grevy zebras come from arid grassland habitats in places like Kenya. Water is at a premium. So during the dry season, resources are hard to come by. And the zebras are just like us. They want to be able to make sure that they can care for their babies. So they don't like to hang out with a lot of other animals. They're not the city dwellers. They like to carve out their own space, which we give them up on that hillside. That helps keep them feeling a little bit more secure in their surroundings and more likely to breed. They're not the only ones that get their own private bedroom. Right next to us is our bird marsh, where in front of us near the waterfall you can see a tall Goliath heron, and then sitting on the rocks is a mottled black and white Western Ruppell's vulture. Now just above the waterfall is another vulture, Western Ruppell's vulture, and it looks like there's actually a pair, and I think they're collecting nesting materials to build a nest. Western Ruppell's vultures are also on the endangered species list, so we're hoping that they have a successful nesting season this year. We're also looking for some little piglets coming up in 2017. Right up here, also on the right, where you'll find red river hogs. Now if you look all the way over your right-hand shoulder behind us, I can see the entire group of red river hogs snuggling together in the bottom right-hand corner by the chain link fence. One of them is looking for a few extra little snacks. But teamwork is a behavior we see a lot of. Check out all the antelope on the left-hand side. Like the rich red sable antelope lying down next to us. Or the silvery gray wildebeest up the green grassy slope. They're together as a team, and notice how they're all facing in different directions. Now imagine that you are a lion and you're hungry And you see the sable antelope or the silver gray wildebeest up the hill from where we are right now. If you want to enjoy one of them for your lunch, you do need the element of surprise. So which direction are you going to approach these animals from to sneak up on the team? Notice you can't sneak up on them because they've got every direction covered. This is called the alert circle formation. Benefit of having lots of friends and neighbors around. But right next to us, look for an antelope with big pointy horns called a gemsbok. And look at her belly. It's kind of a swollen looking belly, isn't it? The rest of the herd of gemsbok are in front of us. That's interesting that she's kind of wandering off on her own. So remember, they all know how to behave in order to survive in their habitat. And gemsbok often will join forces, especially when food is plentiful.
That's cool.
So when a normally social animal kind of isolates itself from the rest of its team, and it's a female who is pregnant, she might be getting ready to go into labor. Because a brand new little calf is too little to run away from anything or fight. And sometimes the best offense is a good defense. So mom will try and have her baby in a place where she can tuck her little one away. Because if nothing can find her calf, nothing can eat her calf. That way, after the hard labor is over, she can rest as well. The rest of the gemsbok here at the feeder together are dining as a group. Because look at what they do when they're eating. They've got their heads down.
They're so cute. They're a tractor king.
If you're trying to stay off the menu when you're eating, it's a good idea to eat as a team.
Look at the giraffe.
This one.
Giraffes also like to have buddies around, but notice in this boma next to us, and boma, by the way, is the Swahili word for corral, you can see a single giraffe named Baridi. And Baridi's a little over a year old. When he was first born, unfortunately his mom wasn't producing enough milk. So he was bottle fed by our keepers. Now he's been weaned. He's going to be sent to another zoo for breeding. The rest of the giraffes are over here. And they're probably wanting to go to the giraffe feeding station, but we have a rhino showing you the law of sizes. The bigger you are, the more access to food you have. And Eric, our East African black rhino, I guess has said, I am eating this grass and I weigh 3,000 pounds. So if you do not weigh at least 3,000 pounds, then back off and let me get my food. Believe it or not, a rhino outweighs a giraffe. Anywhere between 500 to 1,000 pounds. A couple more gemsbok here in the foreground, as well as a herd of Cape buffalo, the dark brown animals across from us, right about at eye level. And Cape buffalo are also pretty big. Not quite as big as a rhino, but they can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. But the Cape buffalo lives in open grassland, where there's not much to hide behind. So they form very large herds. There's plenty of food to maintain a large herd size. And the more of them there are, the more likely that they will spot danger before it arrives. And you can see how many different animals we have in each habitat. Like up on the right-hand side, our blonde oodad, also known as Barbary red sheep, and just up from the oodad, the fur herd of Somali wild ass. Two northern African species. But diversity is the key to protecting wildlife. no matter what the habitat. Let's cruise on up to the top of this hill. There is a bridge just up in front of us. Once we get to the bridge, I'll stop and let you guys stand up and take a few more photos.
Wow.
Such a great view. You can see all the way down to the San Pasqual Valley. On the island on the right, another type of pelican, a pigback pelican. You can see their beautiful group nest that they've built. And it looks like a couple of navy blue and yellow West African crowned cranes are trying to take over the nest. Why build your own when the pelicans did such a great job? Also, in addition to the African wildlife, keep your eyes peeled for local wildlife as well, like waterfowl. And on an earlier tour, we spotted a coyote trotting right along this stretch of the hillside. Keep your eyes peeled for that. And we also spotted a herd of California mule deer just up in front of us. We also often spot hawks, like red-tailed hawks, crows and ravens. Sometimes we see snakes, like red diamond rattlesnakes or rosy boas. We even have spotted a tarantula way out here on occasion.
That's for you, Catherine.
We often see local wildlife along this stretch of the tour because we're surrounded by a habitat called California coastal sage scrub. Now, this is the most rapidly declining habitat in the continental United States. But because of people like you that have been visiting us year in and year out since 1972, we are able to take care of about 800 acres of this coastal sage scrub. And by setting aside the plants, that's how we can ensure that the animals will come and spend time with us. And a herd of mule deer was right just down this slope on an earlier tour. Great view from up here. You can see more Barbary red sheep over your left-hand shoulder, as well as a camel in that separate little habitat around the huge tree with the deep green glossy leaves. That's Dune. He's a dromedary camel. He used to be one of our animal ambassadors that has since retired. As well as more antelope straight down the hill, like the sandy brown Patterson's eland, more silver gray wildebeest, the Cape buffalo, and giraffes off in the distance.
They probably get up here on the bank of Madison.
And you come out to see the African wildlife, but it's so much fun to also see local wildlife and what lives right here in our own backyard. And you know what? We are going to see some of the mule deer. As I turn the bend, look in front of us on the right, you can see a coral tree that's just starting to flower. These deep orange flowers, and the tree next to it, right in front of us, underneath those beautiful weeping branches, look for a couple of mule deer. Just by providing the plants, wildlife will come. That's actually a great way for you guys to help us protect wildlife by thinking about how you tend to your gardens at home and what kinds of plants you include. For instance, if you include native plants, not only will you encourage native wildlife to spend time in your gardens, but native plants typically tend to be more resistant to pests and diseases, and they're beautiful to look at. And speaking of beautiful to look at, this is such a great view. And straight down the hill from where we are right now, stand up if you'd like, there is a rhino. That's a southern white rhino male named Chuck. I wish he'd kind of walk out a little bit more. It's kind of an awkward spot, isn't it? But notice how Chuck is all by himself. Most other species we've seen, they want to be part of a team, but there are always exceptions to every rule. Southern white rhino males never have to worry about taking care of babies, and they weigh about 5,000 pounds. Plus, all they eat is grass, supporting 5,000 pounds on salad alone. Plus, a fully grown southern white rhino can hurdle its body through space at 40 miles per hour. So it's got speed, size, and strength on its side. We never have to worry about calves being a male. So male southern white rhinos fly solo. That way any food that they find they get to keep. Unlike the smaller animals that, well, they figured out it's worth it for them to share their food so they can have buddies around to watch their backs. Right next to us is a herd of Ellipsan waterbuck, the shaggy brown animals. And notice how they keep flick-flacking their tails back and forth like little windshield wipers. They're talking to each other. That's called flagging. Basically what they're saying is, hey neighbor, I'm a little busy eating right now, so I'm not really paying as much attention to predators. So if you could watch my backside, that would be super. Our dogs at home do the same behavior. If you have a dog, think about what your dog is going to do when you come home. If it's like mine, your dog's going to come running towards you, wagging its tail like crazy. Your dog is communicating to you, saying, oh my gosh, you ditched me. You left me alone. You must not have seen me, so now I'm going to wag my tail. So next time you leave, you take me with you. Even our domestic animals know how to behave in emergencies. On the left is another cart safari tour, which again, you can find information about how to do a cart safari for yourselves. It's a 1-hour guided tour. Stop by any tip booth where they'll give you prices and schedules. And as we've seen on our journey, animals know how to behave in order to survive in their habitat. They know how to find their food, how southern white rhino males will kind of fly solo so that any food that they find they get to keep. They also know what to do to stay off of the menu. How antelope will join forces, like the Ellipsan waterbuck. Wag their tails back and forth to talk to their teammates, to say, hey, watch my backside. And we've seen how they will protect their babies, like how southern white rhino mamas will keep their little calves right next to them. Like if you look straight up the hill from where we are right now, you can see a little baby rhino named Masamba, who is about a year old. And right next to his mama. Unfortunately though, the most important behavior is our own. Because of many human behaviors, wildlife around the globe is in trouble. Part of the problem is habitat destruction, which is impacting wildlife right here at home. Another problem is illegal or unsustainable poaching. That's what's impacting animals like rhinos. Rhinos are being hunted almost to the point of extinction because of their horns, which are valued in many traditional medicines. And it's thought that powdered rhino horn can cure everything from laryngitis to cancer. But take a look at your fingernails and touch the back of your thumbnail, because that's the exact same thing as a rhino's horn. It's just keratin. Trying to cure cancer by drinking a tea of powdered rhino horn is going to do about as much good as trying to cure cancer by biting your fingernails. It's not going to work. So through education as well as the support of anti-poaching organizations, we're trying to protect rhinos. And that's where you guys come in. Because at the end of the day, you guys are the true heroes of the story. Because of people like you that have been visiting us for nearly 50 years, you make it possible for us to do things like protect habitats, like our own coastal safe scrub, or support anti-poaching organizations to protect animals like rhinos, or just to care for not just our African and Asian wildlife, but our local friends too, like all those ducks that are helping themselves. This lovely free all-you-can-eat buffet. So we thank you for your choice and coming and spending part of your day with us today. We hope to see you back again next month when we start our butterfly jungle. We'll have thousands of butterflies flying through our hidden jungle. And I especially want to thank those of you that are members of San Diego Zoo Global. Whether it's your first time visiting with us or your 50th, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day. Feel free